All right. Hey, guys. We're live, I think. Have we figured this thing out? Is it working? Maybe.
How long is that delay?
I don't know, but I got nothing but a black screen here. Here we go. We're up. Great. So I think there's only a couple people watching, but, thank you and for joining us, and welcome to our first bonus episode. I was talking to Dee and Dave about, what else could we do to, kind of make Patreon worthwhile for our supporters out there. And one of the things we came up with was we can do some bonus episodes each month. So here we are.
Hello,
everyone. First and foremost, I just wanted to use this opportunity to introduce Dee. Like, a lot of you guys, you've seen his work, but you haven't actually met him yet. You haven't seen him yet.
I think I popped into one of the episodes for like a second.
I'm the one that's out of frame here. Let's see.
It's a game.
What direction do I need to be?
The opposite of what you think. Yeah,
over here. So, Dee, thank you. Welcome to the Team House. You've been doing a kick-ass job. Appreciate it. A lot of you have noticed, I'm sure, that the production quality of the show has jumped way up.
I'm trying not to fuck it up. Yeah.
That's because of Dee. I mean, so just to I think most of you guys understand, but the way all of this works is, we're basically in the business of broadcasting, doing a live stream, like live broadcasting. That's what we're doing with live streaming. It's crazy. And before, it was just Dave and I. So I was jumping back and forth behind the TriCaster and the production software, and then jumping back trying to do an interview at the same time. So it was just totally nuts. Having Dee there, you can see he's able to change the camera angles, adjust the volume, and fix things on the fly that I was never able to do before. So that's why things look way better than they did.
And listen, the TriCaster's a fancy piece of equipment.
Very fancy.
Yeah, so you want to get the most you could possibly get out of it.
Yeah. Can you pass me the scotch there, please? Thank you. Yeah, man, it is. It's an expensive piece of hardware, and the software itself is also several $1,000s. So it's kind of silly that we definitely were not getting our money's worth out of the equipment we had.
And we talked about it yesterday, him getting up when there's somebody on to interview. You're not focused on the person
not
you're interviewing,
Not at all.
You're freaking out because you want to make sure the shit is right.
So, Dee, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you got into, first it was indie films, right?
Yeah. That's what I wanted to do from the get-go since I was a kid. Then, real life hits you, and it's you can't really make a living doing it. So, I was in construction. I owned restaurants. I got out of that garbage because restaurants are the worst business, and the kids, whoever's listening, don't buy restaurants. It's a nightmare. During the time when I had my restaurants, I made an indie film that I wrote. For super cheap. It's on Amazon Prime if you want to watch it.
Oh, what's it called? So if they do want to watch
Jimbo.
Jimbo?
Yeah. About a dude who gets out of jail.
I need to check it out myself, man. Maybe this weekend, actually. I'm going to be...
Listen, from my first go, I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah,
The pacing's good and stuff like that. And literally, I made it for what the cost of water bottles are for Avengers movies. You know what I mean? That's their line item.
Yeah.
It's 50 G's for a legit feature film.
Yeah.
And it's it's like a gangster or bank robbery type movie?
Yeah, there's a bank robbery in it. It's basically Carlito's Way meets The Town, but based in Brooklyn. Because I'm a bridge and tunnel scumbag, I like to say. So, yeah, it was fun. I'd love to keep doing movies like that, but I don't want to pay for them, obviously. They're not great investments.
Matt, where are you from? Is that a southern accent we hear?
Yeah. I'm actually from Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
No, I'm from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Yeah. And that's it. I don't know. I'm just a hustler, dude, trying to figure out what to do with myself. I don't want a regular job, so I hit you up for...
Yeah, man, you did. Yeah, well, first you were running your own podcast. I was there in your studio that you have in your place yesterday. We can talk about that in a minute, but you had your own podcast. At that time was the Daily Taco.
The Daily Taco, where I would run my mouth about news and stuff like that. But that gets boring. That gets so, the world's a shit show. So it's depressing. So I moved it. What do you call it? Pivoted.
There you go. Good word.
To a history channel. Because history, I don't know, people like history. I'm a dirtbag, so I call it Dirtbag History because I kind of want to give it a little ridiculous spin because I like to make jokes and stuff like that. I want to make it semi-interesting, not like a lecture.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Dirtbag History, and if people wanted to listen to Dirtbag History, where can they find it?
It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on YouTube. It's everywhere you find your goods.
Yeah.
It's a nice setup. It's a little bit different than what we have going on here because what you're doing is different also.
Sure, yeah.
But D's got like the like foam. You guys can't see it, but we have the kind of like apple crate foam padding up in the ceiling around here. D has the entire room done like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I overdid it.
Well, I mean, I would say that we underdid it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, probably.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle between like the entire room being covered like it's wallpaper and like this
and
is where
like
you want to
14
be.
like pinned up there.
Yeah.
It's way too much. It's like I murder people down there, which I don't.
Because hot.
I don't.
Oh, it's like you murder people.
Yeah, because it's super soundproof.
It's like Patrick Bateman.
You walk in and it's just like everything change. Like the sound around your head changes. It's
so you're saying that if anybody went missing in Bay Ridge, it's not that you personally have any motivation or would ever do anything like that.
Yeah.
But your place is a pretty ideal place to.
It would be the perfect place for either dismembering bodies or like a sex.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too graphic.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's one or the other, or a podcast, I guess. So I'm doing the podcast.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's like
but you could pivot again in the future if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I like to keep my options open,
you could
bro.
pivot to murder or
S&M dungeon.
Yeah,
right.
S&M,
Yeah, I could rent it out maybe. Who knows?
There's a big market for it.
I'm gonna be like Gary V. Like, look, we usually pad out your apartment.
Yeah, you're gonna see him on a TED Talk in 2 years. Like, I make $10,000 a month padding out my apartment and renting it out.
Yeah, you'll be like doing those little talks, you know.
Yeah, listen, the podcasting is awesome. It's fun. It's very frustrating because a lot of people have podcasts, so it's tough to like make inroads and grow an audience.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you're doing it for that reason only, like crazy.
Yeah,
like, you should do it because you like doing it. Maybe it's a release. It's like, that's stress reliever.
That's something like Dave and I talked about like numerous times as we were kind of trying to build out this whole channel. Like, if you're just trying to grow the audience, like that's your goal, is like, I want 1 million subscribers on this channel, and there are things you can definitely do to like ramp that up.
There are ways to do that.
But what'll happen over time is like, then this just becomes another job, and like Dave's not going to want to come into this, I'm not going to want to come into this, we're just going to be burned out and tired and sick of it. So I mean, like, you got to do like, make sure it's something you're passionate about. Otherwise, it's just another job, one that probably doesn't pay you enough to be worthwhile.
It becomes a grind. And who wants to do that?
Well, I mean, even like I said, there are ways to do that. You know, you do clickbait titles. You do controversial topics.
Bro, if you guys did like reaction videos,
15-minute
reaction videos to like Rambo or whatever, pick up Zero Dark 30, which could get destroyed.
Honestly, I would enjoy doing reaction videos. I think reaction videos would be fun.
We could do that for a bonus video, like one of these. That would be actually
I think
funny.
reaction videos would be fun. I'm not sure how hard they are to set. They can't be that hard because there are a ton of them. But I mean, and some of them are really great. Some are a lot of fun. But I mean, like, if you were to take, like, if we were to take positions on the left or positions on the right, you know, and just be hardcore about those positions, and only invite in guests who, you know, either agreed with those positions or who wanted to fight about them, and we just shut them down.
Yeah, you want like a nice fight, you can clip it. You know what I mean? It can probably go viral, maybe, or whatever. Yeah, it's. You see guys doing that. Like,
Jack and Dave debate third wave feminists.
That
kind of stuff.
Oh my god.
Well, it would be former, you know, Army Ranger destroys feminists or something like that. Like that would get you.
Former Army Ranger destroys a college student.
Yeah.
Destroy, like the Shapiro clips.
It's the low hanging fruit.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they make a lot of money doing it. Like Crowder, Tim Pools, those guys, Shapiro, like they make tons of money doing it. That's why they do it. I mean, I'm sure they probably don't even believe half the shit they say, but you got to do what you got to do.
It's lucrative. It's very lucrative. Yeah.
You have the same thing with lefties too, though. There's lefties that make big money.
Oh, sure. I mean, look. Rachel Maddow is no better than Bill O'Reilly. You know what I mean? They're
and she's got a huge audience. She's on the level of like Tucker Carlson's audience.
Yeah.
So
no, but that's what I mean is it doesn't matter if you go left or right. It just matters that you have like
you're really passionate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's one show that I love. They just changed it up called Breaking Points. It's with Crystal Ball. She's a lefty.
Yeah. I've seen that before.
They just went off on their own.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good. Like they call shit as straight as possible, and they say like, okay, I'm more of a lefty, I'm more of a righty and stuff. Right. But they're good faith actors, which is like rare.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like you look at it, and it's like this is the sort of thing like that should be on television, instead of the crazy shit that's on there.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. I think that's the hard, that's like there are people on the left and the right that, I mean, I haven't been, because of school, I haven't been watching any YouTube at all, but when I was watching YouTube, or quite a bit of it, there were people on the left and the right who I enjoyed watching as long as they were honest actors. I mean, as like I really liked Jimmy Dore. I mean, he went off on a real tangent during the whole like police thing.
Yeah.
But,
he's beefing with he's beefing with lefties too.
Yeah, that's what I mean is he look, politically, I couldn't be more removed from him, and he's an ardent socialist.
Mm-hmm.
But he's very honest about the news that he reports. We just might have a different interpretation of because honestly,
good
outside of pundits and radicals, or whatever. When people are on the left or the right, everybody wants the same thing for America. Nobody wants kids starving in the street. Nobody everybody wants everybody else to be able to reach some level of success. What they see as success may be different. How they define it.
Yeah, that's true.
But everybody wants the same thing.
Yeah, we don't want people dying.
Right.
Right? Like, and I think we can all agree, like, government's main role should be, before everything, is public safety. Like, making sure not as many people die. Like, making sure if they can avoid it, they can try and do whatever they can to avoid it. And then, tax breaks for billionaires and stuff.
Right.
Things that really matter.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that, like, we're in an era where, like, every goddamn thing is politicized.
Sure.
Like, every.
There's money there, dude. You can get wedges who's that, like, gets these political operatives paid, gets the media companies paid.
It's the age of the grift.
And there's like nothing, there is nothing that we cannot find, like, some way to be offended by. Like the most mundane, asinine thing, like, people would find ways to get outraged about it.
It's also, I think, I mean, politicians really found, and like, I don't know how things were in the 1920s because I was alive, or, the 1870s. Because I'm sure politicians have always been this way since the dawn of time. But with media the way it is now, particularly social media, politicians have really found that way to make sure that it's never the people against the government. Like, let's keep our government in check.
Yeah.
But they've made sure to keep the people divided. So if they're going to vote on something, it's going to be a big issue. It's going to be in the media. Nobody even knows what's in the bill that they're voting on, right?
There's so many times where, like, they would have, like, tax bills, and, like, they're going to mark them up to committee, and it's literally like, here's a 5,000-page bill,
right?
3 hours before you vote,
right?
Like, not even our nerds that we hire can read through this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we hire to actually do this because we don't really. It's a senator.
It's all such like a stage play, and it's to the point where it's like, who is it? Jean Boullier, the French philosopher who wrote about, like, how, like, everything we do is sort of like a simulation of something else. It's like a copy of a copy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like we're living in, like, such a fake, artificial world, like, where like nothing is real. Like, we're not talking about anything that's real. We're not debating anything that's real. As you said, we're passing bills. We don't even know what's in them. Like, the whole thing is like this artifice that we're all participating in.
It's nuts, dude. You watch them debate, like, on the House floor or the Senate floor, and they're yelling about stuff. And then when the final bill comes down, passed, everything's watered down. Everything is, like, compromises, and, like, not even compromises to, like, it's compromises to, like, help, their overlords, which are corporations.
Right.
Like, those are the people, those are our oligarchs, basically, in America.
Right. But if there's something for their benefit, if there's a pay raise, or like the bill that passed when Obama was in office about, making it okay for insider trading in Congress, like you don't hear about those. They're not debating those because they're quick to sign off.
Goes under the radar.
Yeah, they're quick to sign off.
You see all their net worths, like the 30-year guys.
Right.
They come in, they're like, they probably have student loans still.
Right.
They come out, they're 70 years old, they're worth $30 million.
Right. Right.
Like, what is that? Because you're just savvy?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And if you bring in enough money to the party, whatever party that is, like you can almost like openly be corrupt.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to be done to you.
Oh yeah. I don't think there'd never ever. I mean, but I don't think there would ever be another thing like Abscam. Where the journalists go in dressed it. I mean,
kickbacks.
A white dude dressed as an Arab sheikh. And
I feel like they've probably like massaged the laws to like where it's loopholed now, where like it's kind of okay to do that. You know what I mean? Like you get a kickback, but it's to your campaign.
That's the entire country like that we live in. Like you would never see like a church committee hearing or any like Watergate or anything like that anymore because like we're so good at crime, we institutionalize it.
Yeah.
And now there's
we legalize it.
Yeah, there's so many like loopholes and little things here and there. And like the issues I deal with, like the defense issues, and I come across these things where I'm like, bro, that's illegal. You can't do that. And the actual answer is, well, it was deemed illegal. Like they found the workarounds.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and so ever since I started school, not since I started school, but when it got intense, I left social media completely. And, some people go, well, why'd you, you don't even look? I go, I don't even look. And they're like, well, you don't have to respond to people. Because I'm like, it takes too much time.
Sure, yeah.
And then, and I tell them, it's not about me responding to people. It's not about anything like that. It's, if I see something, I'm going to want to know if it's true. So then I'm going to go online and I'm going to start doing research because I can't, so for me, it's better just to remain ignorant. So I don't go down rabbit holes to try to find out if, Republicans really did vote against, firefighters getting benefits or Democrats, Democrats really did, do this. Like, I need to just stay away from it so I don't see that stuff because I have such an obsessive, nature about stuff like that I'll want to try to find out if it's real. And it's really hard uncovering that kind of truth.
Right. Yeah. It's a black hole. If you get into it's like a vortex you'll never find your way out of.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it.
I also stick to like several issues. I don't like
yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of interests, but I wouldn't say like there's also a whole series of other things that I basically ignore as not that they're irrelevant, but it's just like it's not in my wheelhouse. So I don't pay a particular amount of attention to.
I think like anything else, you just gotta moderate it. You know what I mean? Like drink too much. Don't let social media dominate.
Oh yeah. But it's hard. Like it is really well engineered, whether through intention or just evolution. It's really well engineered to get you and to hold you. Yeah,
I mean, it definitely. I mean, I try to like take a step back and look at it. That like, there's also a lot of good things that come out of it, which there are. And like, I've actually met all kinds of like interesting people through social media over the years, but. Yeah, without a doubt, there's like a lot of detrimental effects, and the human race was not intended to be like all just thrown together.
Right.
The global village, like we were never designed to be like thrown together and just like fight each other all day, every day.
Right.
It's not what we're biologically evolved for.
Yeah.
And you can see it, especially during the COVID era, people like melting down.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's kind of wild. Like it's super. Magnified over like the last year and a half.
Yeah, it really bothered me. Honestly,
well, honestly, I think over like the last 4 years. I mean, once Trump took office, I mean, it was pretty bad during Obama. Like there were, there was a lot of, outrage and blah blah blah. But I think that it just has amplified it, and will probably continue to amplify.
I think what happened with Trump, whether he's a righty or lefty, like. I know people love Trump, and it kind of demystifies the presidency a little bit because this reality show guy just became the president. That kind of hurt it a little bit, and most presidents have like some tact, like they don't really tweet talking shit to anybody, or somebody who's testifying against them. Like he's not like that. Most of the guys are not fucking intimidators. Like.
Look, he's a New Yorker, right? I mean, he's a New Yorker, and I don't want to say
there's a lot of New Yorkers.
No. I was gonna caveat that. It's not like all New Yorkers are like that. But what he is he like just put all that, like who he is and how he thinks on display.
Right.
Where most presidents, I think, are I don't know if they're smart enough, but they don't do that for whatever reason. Whether it's they're smart enough or their handlers are smart enough for what.
I think it's a mixture of all those. Like, I don't know. Like Trump, he did it a certain way. He became president that way. So he's like, I'm going to keep doing it because this is what's got me here. And that's it. Like, all right, my advisors will put out a statement, and I'm just going to say the opposite.
I'm just going to roll. Yeah. Whatever's on my mind at that moment.
I mean, by the time you're like a 70-year-old man and like you've never had any accountability for anything you've ever done.
You're going to start now.
Like, you're not going to change now.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like, Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, they're all degenerates. They're all just under the covers. They put on a good face.
Jack and I have talked about this. That anybody who gets that high, I mean, my personal opinion is anybody who gets that high into government, there has to be a certain level of narcissism and
yeah.
Oh yeah, their egos are not intact. That's for sure.
No shot.
Yeah. No, that's for sure.
But anyway, so how did you find us? Like, and have you always been interested in military stuff?
I've always been interested in military stuff. I was thinking about going into the military, like back when 9/11 happened. So I literally saw the towers go down. I didn't do it. I don't know why I didn't go to the military. I think it was just because it's fucking.
How old were you? Yeah, no.
When 9/11 happened, I was 15.
Okay.
So, and this is around like my senior year, leading into Iraq. Basically, I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because everybody wanted to. Everybody, and whoever says they didn't is fucking.
Yeah, they all voted for it.
It's nice to know the future. You know what I mean? I wish I knew the lottery numbers too. It'd be great. I know what to do. I don't know why I didn't. I was just into I was into girls and around. I went to John Jay for like 10 minutes because I was thinking about going to the Secret
John
Service.
Jay is a criminal justice school here in New York.
It's a CUNY university. I went there for like a semester and a half. And then I was like, school's not for me really. Walked about for like a few years. I went to a construction school, got a construction management degree. Did that for a little bit, but I don't like offices. Then restaurants. I don't know why I didn't go to the military. I probably should have in hindsight, or maybe not, because if I got into Iraq, I probably would have been a nightmare. And coming out, I probably would have I'm fucked up now and I didn't do anything.
Right.
So that's my story, pretty much.
And how did you come across our show?
Team House. I knew with Jack. I saw Jack's that round table you had with the other Rangers and stuff back in the day.
Oh yeah, a long time ago now.
So I knew with Jack. I think I followed him on Twitter or whatever. So I always kept up to date. And then you guys put out the Team House. I don't remember. I think it was HK Roy, the first Team House I saw.
Yeah.
And then I kind of binged them. And then one day I just tweeted John, like, yo, you want to come on my podcast? And he said, yeah. Came on the podcast. We did a pod. Bullshitted. I told you I would do the Team House clips page, which I guarantee I'll probably do at some point again. And then I don't know how, like, you told me to come in, right? Oh, no, to do the interviews. We're doing interviews with you guys.
Yeah.
Coming up. That was how it, like, I got in the Team House.
And we did, yesterday, we did a podcast for your show, the history of American special operations. We did, like, through the Revolutionary War all the way up to today.
Hell yeah.
So I'm...
definitely check that out. It's Dirty History.
Dirtbag History.
Or Dirtbag History, sorry about that. Dirtbag History.
I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. I think people will enjoy it.
I'm editing it now. Should be out by the weekend.
Did you film it, or did...
we filmed it.
Okay, great.
It's a real, like, it's obviously going to be a broad overview, even at 3 hours. But it covers the history. I think we did okay with it.
Hell yeah, dude. You killed it. Are you kidding me? It was awesome. Shit I didn't know about. Literally every 10-minute piece that we did, basically, could be its own 2-hour show.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, if you wanted to get crazy, like Dan Carlin would do 30 hours on this. Coming for your ass.
Maybe we will.
Yeah. No, I'm down. I mean, because, like, blue light in and of itself is probably a 3-hour thing.
Yeah, definitely a couple hours, like blue light and delta at the same time coming up, like how all that happened is really interesting.
We barely touched on the global war on terror, and that's like,
there's
like 20 minutes, so that could be 20 hours.
All kinds of stuff on Detachment A in Berlin, Detachment K in Korea, did a lot of research on that. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff in the future that we can get into.
No, it was awesome because usually my sister's a history teacher because I'm lazy, for lack of a better. There's no other excuse. Like, so I make her do a lot of the research, and she comes and like basically teaches me a class, and I just make jokes throughout the whole thing.
I mean, it's like any other well-produced show, honestly.
I was just going to say, it's like any other high school class.
Right.
Because, I mean, she was pretty good, but you're there asking her all kinds of asinine shit. And
yeah, I'm talking about, like, you know, rainbow cookies and shit. Like, I'm just going off. My ADD is, I let it go completely. So she does rein me in, though. She does a pretty good job of reining me back. But she's talking about Henry VIII and shit like so. I'm talking, he's a maniac. The guy's a fucking lunatic. It's unreal how, like, they let that guy be king. And he made his own religion because he couldn't get divorced. What, like, and then the religion.
That's kind of a baller move, to be honest.
Insane, dude.
Pretty bold.
Yeah. And that same religion banned divorce again. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. Like, you know, people like to paint everybody with like a nice brush. The nicest people you think of that are in history are scumbag.
Oh yeah, nobody's.
There's stories there that people should talk about.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to know. I want to make people laugh. I don't really care about accuracy, to be completely honest with you. That's my sister's job. She's my co-host.
So guys, whoever's out there ends up watching this, you know, let us know what you'd like to see in these bonus episodes in the future. Like, we've been sitting here before bullshitting a little bit, batting around some ideas of like what we could do in the future. Like, we do some soft history stuff. We can bring in people who are like local, like friends of ours, friends of the show, to come in and talk, and have conversations with them. Shit, we could play Dungeons and Dragons down here, down in the bunker.
I think we should play Cthulhu, though. I think we should play.
We do that.
Yeah, I think. Like, I'm down for D&D always, but I think that like Cthulhu is such an outrageous ride,
right?
And there's more like ludicrousy, if that's a word. You know, there's just so much random shit that happens.
And I could play a private dick, or maybe like a 1930s reporter that has a hat with a little piece of paper in it, you know.
And you could voice it in that 1930s voice.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, I guess was that 1920s, though, right? Or was it?
Couple of Gabby broads come walking down the hallway.
Yeah.
You say goyles.
Goyles.
That's the. I was reading about like accents. It was so weird. Like, that was part of like a New York, Brooklyn accent. Was girls, goyles.
Really?
Which is wild. Yeah, and it went away, I guess. I don't know how.
Speaking of these sessions, and because the reason that you, like, one of the things that we were going to do were interviews.
Yeah.
So just to let you guys know that this will be happening in the near future, where D will be interviewing Jack and D will be interviewing me, just about our own personal stuff. And, you know, and Jack's been interviewed a bit and has an autobiography. I've been interviewed like once or twice, I guess.
Would you ever write a book? Like an autobiography?
I honestly don't. I would have to interview a lot of people from my past, because like with the TBIs and stuff like that, like a lot of things aren't, a lot of like specific events aren't super clear.
That's part of the process, though. It can be, if you like doing it, it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But if you don't like it, revisiting all that stuff, it won't be fun.
It doesn't bother me to revisit it. I just have to go, hey, does anybody remember anything about me? Because, you know, like, I remember my trips, and I remember, you know, like the locations, but I can't associate dates. And when something happened, or when there was an event, I might not remember exactly which base that was at and stuff like that.
I did a little bit of that with my book as well, especially like some of the more like controversial things like combat stuff and shit like that.
Yeah.
I went and asked some of my friends and teammates, like, how do you remember this going down?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about this? Not that I was gonna like sanitize what I had to say, but like just make sure I'm like in the ballpark,
right?
You know, and I'm not like,
you don't want to get tagged with like, oh, he's bullshit.
Well,
that's important,
right?
Well, my opinions are also my opinions, and like, fuck you if you don't like them. But if there's like somebody has a totally divergent opinion, I'd also like to include that point of view.
Sure. And not just opinion, but like memory. Like, anybody who's been married can tell you that there are separate realities. Like that you and your spouse will have completely different recollections of a conversation that you had 4 weeks ago. And each of you are 100% certain that conversation went down that way. So it's sort of like, this is my reality, that's your reality, and somewhere in the middle is the actual reality of the situation. So, yeah, I mean, I can definitely see why you would do that. And I'm always amazed by the people that we have on the show that have either kept journals or are just, their memories work in such a way that they're just so absolutely clear about these particular missions and the details of these missions. Because, man, I don't remember stuff like that.
Because they all like kind of run together after a while.
Yeah, they all run together.
They especially like my second trip to Iraq, my first trip to Iraq, and when I was writing about it, like I don't know if I even want to put a number, but it felt like we did like 150 missions in a 3-month period. And like, yeah, they start to run together.
Yeah, I mean, when you're, especially Iraq, I'd say Iraq more than Baghdad, or Iraq more than Afghanistan, because like in Baghdad, you're going out every night. You're bringing back your primary people. You're doing battlefield interrogations, and then based on whatever information they have,
doing it again.
Especially when you're trying to take down a network, you don't want word to get out, and those guys all to run to the run to the bush or whatever. So you're resetting, going out and grabbing the next guy, come back, getting his intel, resetting, going out and getting the next guy.
You're sitting there with a tape recorder, like making notes and shit. No way, you know what I mean? Like you're busy.
Yeah.
And I know we only have a couple of viewers, but since you guys take the time to come and watch this thing live as we're recording it, if you do have any questions, feel free to chime in. Happy to take them. There is one thing that I can mention that maybe people would be interested in, because someone asked me to talk about this on a bonus stream. I was surprised when General Brennan, who is now the commander of Special Forces, he did this interview the other day, maybe a couple months ago now, and he was saying there's this concept that they're working on that they call the naked man, and I was like, holy shit. I was really surprised to see that Special Forces Command was working on that, because that was something that I had helped prototype back in like 2013 maybe. 2013, I think it was. And I was in West Africa, like testing it. And it was it was a commercial endeavor that we were trying to sell to, the United States government, but whoever wanted it. And the whole concept was because of like biometrics and everything else that like bringing equipment and stuff like that into countries is like increasingly difficult in certain areas. So the concept is you go in just as you are, nothing. And then once you get in a country, what can you get off of the shelf using commercially available things to set up whatever you need to go about like your intelligence gathering mission or OPE or whatever it is. So like we were buying cell phones and loading apps in them, and there's a program where like you can build your own apps on the fly and do all these things with geofencing. And so it was like 2 weeks putting all this stuff together in Africa. And then I was told this whole concept was briefed to the Deputy Director of National Intelligence, so the Deputy DNI. And like they didn't know what to do with it. But it was open source intelligence, and like they just looked at it like, we don't know who has the authorities for this. I don't even know. So it didn't go anywhere. So I was like super surprised. Like all these years later, 2021, Special Forces Command is talking about the naked man.
It really is, I think, an important part of that process. That because, like you say, I mean, first off, people can't really travel in alias anymore.
It's getting harder and harder, and it'll take millions of dollars to put somebody somewhere under alias.
Yeah. I mean, anything that happens in alias, generally, especially if you're flying through Heathrow or Charles de Gaulle or whatever, I mean, you have to travel in true name. You can't go through an alias because biometrics are going to ping you.
Right. So, like what Dave is saying there is because all of these airports have biometrics, whether they're taking your fingerprints or whatever the hell it is, or a space scan. So let's say like I've been on vacation in Europe a bunch of times. You guys have too. So you go through there on vacation with your family or whatever. Now years later, you're doing your job with the CIA or with JSOC, whoever it is. You're under alias. Well, your biometrics haven't changed.
Right.
So you go through Heathrow or you go through Berlin or wherever it is, and it's the same biometrics they're picking up, but under a different name. So, okay, now are you lying to us now or were you lying to us then?
Would you mind stepping into this room?
Yeah, which is it?
Yeah.
Now, in London or Germany or something, that might soft compromise the operation you're on.
Right.
But at least you're not going to some third world dungeon.
Right.
Now, if that happened to you like in Iran, you're fucking done.
Yeah.
Right.
That's totally different.
Well, even places like you think about sort of that debacle with the agency in Italy.
Yeah.
And, and I don't know if Italy, if their airports are running biometrics right now, but the people involved in that can't go back to Italy ever.
They can't go back to Europe ever.
Right. That's what I was going to say. They probably can't even go back to Europe because of the whole EU thing. So if you can forget like taking your family on vacation to Europe.
Not even for that.
No.
They were convicted in absentia.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's also the problem of like, if the EU courts are able to cut like some sort of bilateral deal with a third country, and you're like in Thailand, now you got to worry about the Thais coming to arrest you and extraditing you to Europe.
Yeah. And so it starts to get to the point where, if whatever organization, JSOC or, some national intelligence organization was going, you were going to fly to, let's say to get to Afghanistan, you fly to Germany and then you fly to maybe Uzbekistan commercially. You do all that commercial, and you can fly commercial into Afghanistan now. But before, let's say you fly commercially to Germany and then commercially to Uzbekistan, and then you take a military flight. Okay. Well, now you can't even take those commercial flights. Now you've got to
get to Germany.
Right. Now you've got to take a charter flight or a military flight or something everywhere.
Can they counter biometrics, like throw it off and shit?
Yes, there can. And there was an article, I just brought it up here in Newsweek last month, Inside the Military Secret Undercover Army. Kind of a lame headline, but the article is actually pretty interesting. And it's a lot of information about exactly that, how you get around biometrics. So they're talking about like things like you would put a thing like a glove over your hand, and it looks like a hand, but the fingerprints are different.
Okay.
It could even like change the pattern of the veins if that gets scanned.
Wow.
They show a guy. There's a picture of a dude wearing a mask. It's like a 20-year-old JSOC guy, but it looks like he's a 90-year-old man.
Whoa.
And it looks pretty good.
Like Mission Impossible.
Yeah. So and then they also talk about the other thing with biometrics is, our technical side is pretty good. So like, if we sold them biometric software, or we sold them computers or whatever, that's called like a tailored access program.
Right.
Potentially, like they would go in there and hack into the computer and change it for that one person to get through there. But again, that's what I mean. Like when traveling under alias, like this is going to become an increasingly expensive endeavor to put someone undercover into a country.
Yeah. I mean, because again, if say these means of overcoming the biometrics become common, then they'll just start running tests for fake hands. They'll start it gets to be challenging. I mean, honestly, Vegas, because it's Vegas and because there's money involved and whatnot, was way ahead on like the biometric stuff for years, like their facial recognition and things like that. And now with Facebook, and I mean, Facebook facial recognition is scary. Like it's
who uses? Is that like a way to log in that they use or something like that?
No, it's for their tagging on picture.
Oh, right.
Like that's scary because for a long time the facial recognition
it'll
software
automatically tag.
Yes, it will recommend. For a long time, the algorithms were sort of three-dimensional in the sense that it'd have to how they did the algorithm to figure out, the measurements and stuff for the facial recognition had to be, was done sort of live, right? But like the Facebook software can take a picture, and its algorithm can, if you upload a picture, it'll like show a recommended tag. Is this person, Jack Murphy? Is this person, Yeah. So, it's taken the governments a long time.
Even worse, when these kids on TikTok, and now you got the Chinese collecting your biometrics.
Right.
Like that shit is like people have had this conversation about with those take-home DNA tests. Like you should not be handing your DNA over to.
See, I won't do one. I'm adopted, and I was just talking to my girlfriend about this like 2 weeks ago, and she goes, "Have you ever thought about doing one of those?" And I was like, "I'm not giving my biological data to a company that doesn't fall under HIPAA. They don't, I don't know what because I don't know who they're selling this data to. They're not like them selling DNA kits or DNA tests is like a loss leader. We're collecting. It's like Google, right? Google makes their money selling your data, not by charging you for advertising or whatnot. That's kind of a side gig.
Yeah, so they're collecting all that.
They're collecting everything at all times on you, and then they sell it to either big data companies or individual. LinkedIn does the same thing. All these companies sell your data. That's bad enough, but then to hand over your biological data, like let's say these DNA companies sell it to insurance companies, and so even though you're just getting back the data on, I'm only going to pay for, I don't want to know like the medical results.
Yeah, I just want to see where
I'm from. They're still running the whole thing. And then who's to say they're not selling that to insurance companies? And all of a sudden your premiums go up because even though you don't know it, the insurance company knows you're at a risk for cancer.
And you can use that data to biologically engineer diseases to wipe out populations. Yep. They're all sorts of messed up. They could design a virus to kill you specifically, if they wanted to. So it's ridiculous when you get down to it, because really they should be paying you for your biological data or your electronic data.
Right.
Like we should be making money here.
Well, Europe is moving in that direction. They came out with the General Data Privacy Regulation, I think GDPR. And basically what they said is you own your data. So companies have to tell you what data they're collecting, what are they using it for, and they can only collect data that relates directly to their business. And then you also have the right to data portability, which is I'm going to move to this other service, and I want you to give them my data, and then the right to be forgotten or whatever, which is I want you to delete all of my data. So, and this is one of the problems that Facebook is having over there right now, is, Facebook just collects everything on everybody. Well, in Europe, you can't do that anymore. And so all these American companies that do business in Europe in some way are having a hard time complying with the GDPR regulations. And there are like heavy fines. I think I might be misspeaking here, but a fine can be like 4% of their international gross. Like they can be heavy fines.
Yeah, it's not insignificant.
No. So, it would be nice if in America we would sort of move towards in that direction. Where
who's going to do that? Congress is going to go in there?
No, exactly. They're in the exactly.
Yeah.
Their average age is 100 years old.
No one's got the balls to go and like take on all that and like.
You know how much money Facebook and Google are pumping into the system?
I think it's less than. It's not about balls. It's about self-interest. Everybody just makes too much money. It's sort of like Hollywood and how they deal with China. It's not that they're afraid of China. It's just that China's domestic budget or for film.
Right, but it takes when somebody's holding that kind of money over your head, it takes balls to challenge the status quo.
That's true.
And be like,
let's say somebody comes out against, they want to really regulate Facebook, Google. That person will get a primary challenge who's exceedingly well funded. You know what I mean? Somehow, some way. And forget not even the primary challenge. general election, they're going to be getting a ton of money working against them.
Yeah.
So
well,
behind the 8 ball.
In these instances, like, we saw, like, with Trump, we saw some of the actions against Twitter, and not just with Trump, but, from people, mostly conservatives, I think, but what is Twitter allowed to regulate? What is, Facebook allowed to regulate? Things like that. I think that it comes to, in general, and those are more like free speech issues, one way or the other. But for this, I think it comes more into governance over data instead of towards specific companies, so that you don't have to take on Google, you don't have to take on Facebook specifically. You just say, this is how we want an individual's data to be to be used. If I go out and I'm filmed in public by a commercial endeavor, a movie, let's say a movie's filming, then they have to get a waiver from me to use that in the film, right? If they don't get that,
there's exceptions to that. Like in a movie, you're right, but if it was in other circumstances,
like a news feed,
a news feed, or even like the only reason why I have heard anything about this at all was because you remember that Techno Viking like viral video, like Viking looking dude dancing in the street.
Oh yeah.
That guy, the guy who filmed that video, he like had to take the original video down. I think he had to pay a fine, and had something to do with the laws in Denmark or Sweden or wherever it was he recorded that like you can't just go in public and record people doing stuff.
Okay.
And then there's some sort of like interesting law in Europe about that. Like in the United States, there's no problem there.
Right.
You could, like me or you can go out, make a recording on the streets and put it on the internet and monetize it if we wanted to.
Right.
So yeah, there are some pretty odd differences.
And even to make a movie, like everyone says you need a permit. You only need a permit if you're using official vehicles, like movie cars and stuff that have NYPD, specifically New York, or like NYPD uniforms, or if you need to close a street down.
Right.
But if you're just shooting a walk and talk of people on a sidewalk, I never got a permit.
Now,
not once, and I used picture cars. I used.
Now hold on.
Yeah.
You never got a permit, or you never got caught not having a permit?
No, you don't need a. I mean, listen, the police cars, yeah. One time, I had 2 days where there were police cars, fake police cars. One was a real police car that we borrowed because my lead was he's a detective, NYPD detective, and they have a base where they had one blue and white car. The rest were unmarked. He's like, yeah, we never use it. We went and picked it up. We drove back. It died halfway to my house. He goes out, gets out, pulls his badge out, pulls over like a uniform cop. They gave us a jump and we keep going. And we shot it literally in front of a bank. Like, yeah, it wasn't allowed for sure. But the other time, I used picture cars, but it was on like private property because I used my buddy's construction yard.
Yeah.
So that was a little different. If it's on private property and you're using that stuff, it's okay. But if it's the other time when we did it, that was not okay.
Yeah.
I had insurance though. So that's good, I guess.
Yeah.
Guerrilla movie making.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be guerrilla style, but it really wasn't. We had a lot of control over like the locations and stuff, which was good because, we had the restaurants. So that was easy. I used my uncle's boat. Like I wrote the script thinking, okay,
what you have on hand.
If no one's going to buy this fucking thing, I'm going to have to do it at some point. So I was like, okay, I'm going to write it, like make it doable.
Right.
Did it. It was fun. And then we used the one location I paid for was a bank because there's a bank robbery scene in it. I finagled those assholes too. Because, so I got the info from a CBS show, like a location manager. And CBS, they'll pay like $40,000. They're loaded. So the lady was telling me about like how Blue Blood shoots in there. I'm like, that's cool. That's CBS. That's Les Moonves. I'm some jerk off making a movie.
Right.
So I casually mentioned the restaurants, right? And I knew because they were a smaller bank that they would instantly be like, oh, you want a bank here? You want a loan? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm totally down to do that. I'm totally down to explore that. It was in the Bronx, so it'd be tricky to bank there because my restaurants are in Brooklyn. So I'm like, I'm totally down to do everything. As long as you gave me this place for $1,000. And they gave it to me for $1,000. We shot. I didn't get a permit there, and my producer forgot to inform the local precinct.
Uh-huh.
So it's a bank robbery scene. So
So there are dudes with like Kalashnikovs coming out of the front door.
Well, I made sure not to show like the fake gun, like the cap guns, which are not allowed either. But fuck it. But I wanted a shot of them opening the door coming in, because the exteriors are shot in a different place, like by where I live, and this interior was in the Bronx. But I wanted the shot of them whipping the door open. So I got that shot. But when I got that shot, people called the cops, and we had like 15 fucking cars, like because we were robbing a bank. It looked like. Then we had even though we had signs up, we're shooting. This is a movie. There's a guy with a fucking camera that's huge. You know, they still called the cops, and it was like a lot of cars. There's probably like 12 police cars, like just surrounded the bank.
So you get slammed down on a car hood?
No, I went out. My buddy, who was one of the bank robbers, he's walking towards the door. I'm like, take the fucking mask. He has a ski mask on.
Yeah,
because we're shooting, literally. But we went out. We explained it to him. It was cool, and then let us do it.
Good thing you're not Black D.
Honestly, I mean, you're probably right. Listen, and we had like my producers, like a cute Asian girl. The bank manager was some smoke show, like tatted up, so hot. Dude, no, I'm just joking. A woman, she was like punk, she had a shaved side of her head. She was unreal. So like,
fucking A, what bank is this?
I know, I don't want to say the name, but I'll say it after. Like when they pulled up, I feel like things instantly calm down when you have two cute girls.
Yeah.
We're just shooting.
Yeah.
And then like the short fat kid comes out. I'm like, no, we're just shooting, dude. I swear to God, like I paid for this.
Yeah.
So
that's hilarious.
I shot also because a guy coming out of prison. So I shot at Brooklyn, the federal place over there, like on 29th Street in Sunset. Such tight asses, because I made the main character. I'm like, go into the parking lot, walk out, and I'll shoot you from afar, long lens.
You'll have the background of the prison. Yeah.
The flags waving. Couple guys come out, like, you can't shoot. I'm like, bro, what if I'm in the news, with the news? I can't shoot here?
Yeah.
When El Chapo comes here, you guys, there's 48 camera trucks out here. Let me shoot. And I would just drive around the block a couple times to get some B-roll and shit. They were bitching, though.
It's so weird. Yeah, the way that works. Like, reporting in Kurdistan, I once got detained by the German military for taking a picture of the hotel that they were staying in. And so they're staying, the German military forces had like rented out this hotel, a nice hotel, and there's security around it. They put up like the barriers, and there's a little guard and all this stuff. Just took a couple pictures of the hotel. Anyone on the street can take a couple pictures of the fucking hotel.
Yeah.
But the guard comes up to us, Iraqi guy. Oh, can you stay here for a moment? Stay here for a moment. And he's like on the radio talking. They're like, oh, come with me. Take me inside the hotel lobby. And it got detained while they like verified my passport info and everything. But here's like the funny thing about it is like, you're detaining me because the fear, of course, is that I'm gathering recon intelligence about this, so for a potential bombing or a hit on the hotel, right? So then they bring me inside the lobby.
That's hilarious, yeah.
And like I'm hanging out with, and they were nice to us. Like I'm hanging out with German soldiers, drinking cappuccino with them.
Yeah.
In the lobby, looking at all their unit patches and everything else.
Like gathering as much as you can.
And it's like, this doesn't make sense. Yeah. And so then the guy came and he asked me to delete the pictures off my phone. And I'm like, okay, cool, delete some pictures. And I'm like, okay, thanks for, cooperating and you can go now. And so walked out, got in a taxi cab, taxi pulls around, took a couple pictures of the hotel as we passed by and left. It, like, whoa, this doesn't make sense.
Also, when like the grab team came out to get you, like they're not paying attention now who's shooting at the hotel, who's taking pictures of the hotel. Are they? They're like busy with you now.
Oh yeah, I mean anybody can be taking pictures of anything anytime.
Right.
And so it's kind of pointless to like in a public area to say you can't photograph this. Like what?
I shot in the Brooklyn Promenade too. Tons of people. Shit. Long lens. Act like you guys love each other. Because there's like a date scene. Rock and roll. Yeah. I love doing it like that. I love small crew.
It's in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I love small crews. I don't like. I mean, you see like a professional union crew. Nothing wrong with unions, but I'm saying like film unions are terrible. But
it's a big.
There's 200 people, and everyone's texting. Everyone's just sitting on their phones texting. There's like 3 people actually doing anything. I like 4 or 5 people run and gun, handheld, like that for me is the shit.
I can see that.
Unless you're shooting Avengers and then you need 400 people, then all right, fine.
So it's you, what, 2 camera guys, 2 sound guys, 1 camera guy.
1 camera guy, 1 sound guy. Me, my producer, who's also my assistant director, Tina, she's a shit. She was like militant. She was like gangster. She's a psycho. Yeah, and that was it. And some days we'd have like an extra production assistant or whatever to help like gaff and like set up lights and shit. And my editor was on site because he also did the media management. So, which is a lot. Like you don't think of it, but it's like got to reload cards and shit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I liked him being on set because he was planning out an assembly cut like as we were shooting. Right. So
it's a lot easier for him when he goes in there.
That dude, like literally, I mean, it would be a way worse movie without him being there. He's like my Sherpa, my boy. So it worked out. I got lucky.
I can see that being a lot of fun. I did that TV show for the Discovery Channel. It had its moments. It was an experience.
Sure, yeah.
But like you said, I mean, and actually, that was not a union job. None of them were union.
Yeah, I could see that.
But like you said, man, it's like a big production, and you have a lot of people, and the more people you have, the more logistics, the more food you got to get out there to people, run everyone through the restaurant, moving everyone around from point A to point B, and like everything kind of has to like come together in that moment, and if it doesn't,
you're cooked.
You're delayed.
Yeah, like that's the assistant director's job. To keep the trains on the tracks and running on time. And it's super hard.
And the second all the ducks are aligned, and that's when somebody starts working on their front deck or mowing their lawn or whatever. Whatever it is.
And
or it rains.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done stuff like on the President's Show where it was all in studio, so you didn't have to worry about it. And that's that was a big production for Comedy Central. I don't say a big production, but it was a professional production done for Comedy Central. I've done like the indie films where you're trying to film a scene in an apartment during summer, like in the bedroom. It's hot.
No
and
AC.
then you start, you have to turn off the AC so you don't pick it up. And then just as you start the scene, somebody outside the window starts honking their horn, and you're like,
yeah.
I filmed outside, and then like planes fly over, and you're like, oh. Okay.
We were shooting in May, right? And we used the beer garden. It's called Greenwood Park. It's still there. It's my cousin's place. It's a huge outdoor beer garden and indoor too. I was like one of the main guys, like place of business in the movie. One of the times we shot was they have a big every year they have a big Kentucky Derby thing. So we were shooting then, and we were shooting in the back part where the dumpsters are. They're having a conversation. So in the raw footage, we cleaned it up like in post and stuff because I finagled another place. Like I went to some place where like Netflix uses like audio mixing, and I got it for like 400.
Yeah,
and it's like $400 an hour. I totally fucking finagled that too. So there's like trumpets in the background when these guys are doing their scenes. It's so loud, and I'm like, oh my god, because like we show them walking towards the back, and the other shots were shot another day, like during the morning when no one's there. So it was like empty place. But then it sounds like there's 500 people because literally there's 500 people like a right across the past like these pallet, like they're made of pallets. It's a partition, so it's so loud. There's trumpets. It's a nightmare, and I'm freaking out. But the kid that we use for the audio mixing gone completely. They have these programs now where they can go into like audio frequencies and take out specific frequencies. Unreal stuff.
That's amazing.
And I paid $400.
Have you guys? It's an older movie, but it's one of my favorite movies ever. Have you guys ever seen Swingers?
Yeah. Swingers is awesome. With Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. It's like one of their first movies.
Yes, it was. I'm pretty sure it was their first movie. Yeah. And I mean, the whole story behind Swingers is interesting anyway, because they were all buddies.
Right.
And were they from Chicago, I think, maybe?
Yeah.
And then, and so the story was really about them and their friends who moved to LA. Mm-hmm. And so they wrote the film, and then they went to a thing where they were trying to sell it, to a bunch of different agents. And their agent, I think it was their agent, once they saw them read it, they're like, "You guys can't sell this film. Like, you have to find a way to make it. That's like
pretty cool.
This is like your film, right?" And so, but they shot it on such a low budget that the some of the like scenes like in the bars and stuff like that, they didn't like it was totally guerrilla. And so people in the bar are like, there's one part where Heather Graham, and this is kind of before she's known, but she's, sitting at the bar and Jon Favreau is approaching her. So they show like a first person view of like Jon Favreau approaching, and like some dude was moving in to hit on Heather Graham.
That's hilarious.
Oh. and then he kind of looks at the camera and he steps back.
That's hilarious.
But ultimately, it just looks like he looks at Jon Favreau and he steps back.
So
because it's first person. But like they hadn't shut down the bar. They weren't supposed to.
That's funny.
See, I had the bar shut down, thankfully, because like we were just shooting like at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
At my cousin's place, so we were lucky. And like a lot of my friends came too. It was like 3 a.m. on a Wednesday for like a welcome home party, and there's like 50 people on like a school night or whatever, a work night, sitting there, fake talking like they're at a party, because you can't really talk at a party, like in a party scene. You add that afterwards. So they really helped out. Like we had like 50 or 60 extras that one day, which is wild. And it was like a crew of and Tina just wrangling everybody like a psycho. She did a great job. Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was an awesome experience. I kind of want to do another one, but I want to do it even lower budget. I handle the camera. I have an idea for like a kind of real-time movie where it's just like a couple breaking up, all happening in one there's a few other scenes, but literally 90% of the movie is in like one room.
Yeah.
Where they do like a whole thing. It's like a big breakup kind of thing. Like mayhem happens at the end. Because I want to do it for like $3,000.
It's tough. I mean, and it wears on your actors too. And to be fair, acting is not as easy as it looks, because generally you're doing the same scene over and over again. If it's an emotional scene, you're trying to pour that same emotional intensity into it. Like if you're sad or whatever, if you're supposed to cry, it's like there's only so many times you can do that, and
it's a job just like anybody else who's out there.
Yeah,
and like you said, I mean, it's also like takes a certain type of person, like a certain professional artist that's able to like replicate that over and over again.
Replicate the spontaneity of a conversation.
Right. Totally.
Or the spontaneity of an emotional, like of an emotional event.
Yeah.
So,
and like you got some directors who are like nutbags, who are like, or directors who are like, you need to say it exactly how I wrote it, or like, I'm leaving. Like ridiculous, like so emotional. I want to feel like, oh, that's not bullshit. That's real. That's what I care about. We know where we're going in the scene, what needs to happen, what beats to hit.
Right.
If you want to do it the way you want to do it and it comes out better, I'm in, because I'm going to take the credit for it anyway.
Right. Yeah. And dialogue, I mean, different writers are good at different things. Like, for instance, like George Lucas was horrible at dialogue. Horrible. And
they say he's a horrible director in a lot of ways, but he's a good editor.
Yeah, I mean that could all be, but
he's like a trailblazer. Bro. That's why.
Yeah, but if you go back to like the screen test of Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and those guys, if you can look those up on YouTube, and the dialogue is just atrocious. And I've been fortunate enough in the past, like on like the indie film that I worked on and stuff. Like if I said, look, this isn't the way somebody would say something. Like this is kind of assuming a lot of stuff in the writer's mind that they know all this.
Right.
But I was like, this isn't how somebody says something. So with a lot of the scenes, I mean, the director was super cool, and the writer was super cool, and it's like, okay, well, let's just sit down and sort of improv these scenes a few times,
test it out
and test it out, and how would somebody say this?
Especially if the dialogue's trash.
Yeah. Right? Well, and the dialogue wasn't trash. It's just
not real.
Yeah. It just like
that's
like
didn't translate on the film.
I don't want to be rude, but that's trash. You need to make it real. You need to make it sound like how we sound. We stutter, we interrupt a little bit. You have to make it like that.
Doing quote unquote reality TV is interesting in that regard. That the producers are always like, be in the moment, be authentic, be yourself. So then you do a little bit of that, like, okay, stop what you're doing there. Just do it like this, sit like this, do that.
We need you to be more like this, because I mean, really, in reality TV, they're so produced that everybody has a role. Right? If you're the villain, man, they want you to be the villain.
They're gonna put some ominous music behind you. They're gonna make you look like the villain, even if you're a nice person.
Yeah, and if you go, if somebody goes, I cheated on you, you're like, all right, that's cool. It's like, no. We need you
throw
need
something.
Yeah.
It ends up being very awkward and odd because it's like, you're being pulled in two different directions. Like, be authentic, be real, but also completely scripted. And like, here's the narrative content we need to derive from this scene and from, you're this, like you said, you're this character, you're that character, etc.
Yeah.
So it ends up being kind of exhausting. It's like at a certain point, it's like, just tell me what you want, I'll do it.
Yeah. It's good to be direct in that way. Like, say exactly what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll go for
wish-wash.
it. We'll do a couple different takes, different styles on it.
It's fun to do different takes, I think.
I happened to randomly bump into somebody involved. I can't remember if she was like, I can't remember what her role was. But she was involved with Practical Jokers. Have you ever seen that TV show?
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious. I mean, you can check it out on YouTube. But the story is essentially these four dudes who like grew up together, and they're always doing practical jokes.
Oh yeah, I know this.
So I started to talk to her about it, and she goes, "Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, she goes, that's really who these guys are, and they've always been that way,
right?
And like, it's not really produced. We just let those guys do what they do,
it's a good fit
because they've always been doing it, But that's so rare.
Once stuff feels overly produced, it's very hard to get it done right.
Yeah.
It can happen, but it's like you're trying to thread a needle. That's really hard.
Especially nowadays, like, everything is about, on the surface, authenticity. Like,
right.
You want it to be authentic. The audiences want it to be authentic and real. But it's like, as authentic as it is, it's completely produced and it's completely canned.
Right.
And you're getting this curated experience. But it's, and like, the more... But like you said, that dynamic, like, the more curated it is, the more directed it is, like, the more people want it authentic. There's just this very strange, like, psychological dynamic taking place.
Like Aaron Sorkin, dialogue, right? He's a beast with dialogue, even though he's written so much that some of it gets carried over to other things, like I've noticed. But I mean, he's written probably thousands of pages of actual TV and movies. His dialogue is very direct, very, like, natural. It's great. And like a guy like David Fincher, they've done a couple movies together, Social Network being one of them, where Fincher's like a perfectionist. Like, he's gonna sit there. I think he has like one handheld shot in the entire movie. Everything's tripods, everything's cranes or dollies, not even Steadicam. So it's like set up. It's meticulously planned out, and it's so good and so, like, I don't even want to say overproduced because it's just right.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that, and then you have, stuff where, like, Children of Men or like The Revenant, where it's like, or Scorsese stuff too, where it's improv and it's handheld. It's walking shots, Steadicam shots. So you can find like a happy medium, I think, in both. You need to be good at do really well.
If you do, the thing with the improv is, I think the important thing about that is to have actors who are really good at living that character, because an actor who understands their character and can get into that character can improv from that character's perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, that, it's challenging. And like you say, the writer is invested too, right? Some writers, and I understand it, you spend this time working on the script, and then somebody wants to go, maybe you think of them as a prima donna or a diva or something like this, but somebody wants to go into the script and change the dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's hard as any type of creator, I think, to create something and then for somebody in a way to say, I want to do it differently.
You got to accept that it's like a team effort. You're not writing a novel.
Right.
It's an ultimate collaboration, dude.
Yeah.
Ultimate. Like, the editor is like the final rewrite.
Right. That's something that I didn't know until I started like doing like the films and stuff like that. The editor is really the storyteller. The actors and the director and all those, the writer and all those people, like, they put it all in there, but films live or die on their editing.
Without a doubt. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think the direction also with the types of camera shots that you're going for, like, because it can become really pretentious with the shaky cam bullshit and all that kind of stuff. Like,
if it's too much, you have to, like, because I did the movie all handheld,
where the director really wants you to see his fingerprints on it.
It's not like crazy. Like I made sure of it not being, unless it's like a super, like, part of the action scene or whatever, where you can get away with that a little bit, but you know, Children of Men, it's handheld.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
That's an amazing movie.
Oh my God. Like, and
it puts you there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
like
sick.
you're a person watching.
You know, they shoot like, they're not just shooting
It's
Clive Owen.
so
They're
dirty.
shooting like, they're shooting like the people in the coffee shop on that first scene when it blows up.
Yeah.
It's like shooting the surroundings. You get the entire surrounding in a thing where it's, I mean, they probably shot it on not even super wide. I'd say it's probably 40 millimeter, 55 millimeter. So it's not super wide. It's kind of tight.
Yeah.
And you get such a big, you get immersed in the environment.
Yeah.
It's so good. And that's all handheld. But then you get guys like Fincher, where it's like a Swiss watch.
Right.
The way he does
Wasn't it like Stanley Kubrick was one of those guys who like would like I remember reading somewhere that there's a scene in it's like totally a throwaway clip where Tom Cruise is walking out of a hospital. Like it's almost irrelevant to the story.
Yeah.
And he made Tom Cruise do that like 150 times.
Fincher's like that too.
Yeah.
Like just nonstop takes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not comparing myself to them, but if I feel like you got it, like we're on take 6.
Moving on.
We're going. Let's go. Because I don't like waiting to set up. I
Yeah.
like shooting.
Yeah.
And lights are very important. This light's amazing, right? But I want to shoot. I don't want to set up 100 lights for this one thing. Like I want to turn on the light and be like, can we shoot like this? Because if we could, let's do it.
Yeah.
Obviously not always.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely different. Like I don't want 40 takes.
Yeah.
I feel like it's good. Kraken, let's go.
Yeah.
Especially like Jimbo, that's my only experience, was we shot in 20 days. I shot 129 pages in 20 days.
Wow.
You know, like, so it's like, can we do this in a one shot? Let's do it in a
So
one
how
shot.
many scenes were you doing a day?
We do like 6 pages a day ish. That's like TV. Movie speed's like 1 or 2 a day.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I think like 11 pages.
Wow.
We rocked. Yeah, we were rocking. The first day I was so nervous. We were shooting at my restaurant that I used to own, which is good. I have control of the whole space or whatever. So that really worried me.
Mm-hmm.
I was so nervous, and we sat down, we were doing it. Everyone was saying like, this is hard to do, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not easy. Obviously there's a lot of moving parts and shit, but when we were done, I was like, this was awesome. Like this was tough, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
Like I never really had a day where I was like, I'm making a mistake.
You're working with like professionals. Everyone knows their job.
Yeah.
Everyone comes into work.
Everybody wanted to do it. You're right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
big.
yeah.
That's huge for sure. The actors too, bro. Actors would have done it for free. I paid them, but people want shit for their reels and stuff. And I've read some of the stuff that they would audition for, like shorts and different movies and stuff. And it's so bad.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff is so bad.
There's a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, and on the flip side of that, people who do like the really low budget stuff or students, they're always getting actors standing them up on the day of the shoot, where actors be like, I've got something
That's
come
fucked
up.
up.
Oh, it's so bad.
I think it's because it was a feature.
Yeah.
People were like more.
People are.
They were down.
Yeah, for sure.
How many actors like, not aside from extras, like spoken parts in the film?
Good amount, probably like 16.
Okay.
So it's not like I thought it would be. I thought it was smaller, but like my editor was like, "Yo, you got a lot of here."
And it's like what, an hour and a half, 2-hour film?
The first cut was 2 hours and 10 minutes. Chopped it down. I can't. Thank God. It's like a total runtime with credits is like an hour and 46.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we chopped out like 30 minutes,
Mhm.
which we had a digital effects guy who did some minor stuff. And me and my editor, I'm like, yo, tell him to give me notes. Like, I want to know what he thinks I can get rid of.
Mhm.
And because he's not part of it, fresh eyes, you know what I mean? He's not feeling precious, you know, because the first 2 hours and 10 minutes, I was like, oh, we don't need to cut anything out. This is great. This is the best movie ever.
Right.
No, it's not.
Right.
I felt comfortable. And then he came with notes. It was like a laundry list of notes. Not bad notes, pretty good notes. And I told him, my editor was worried like that I would be precious with it. I'm like, bro, chop it all out and let's see how it looks.
Yeah.
So he got rid of everything. That didn't do anything really for the story.
Right. If
when
it's
you
not
really
moving
look
the-
at it
If
objectively.
it's not moving the story
Yeah.
forward, then why is it there? Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I took out like 25 minutes. I'm like, 25? What are you crazy?
Yeah.
When he first told me that, I'm like, would you cut out entire characters?
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's calm down, let's watch it, and we'll see what happens. And we watched it, and I was like, keep everything.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't, and that's one of my biggest worry was the pacing. And then Thanksgiving, I had a rough, like almost final cut. I screened it for my family at Thanksgiving. We went to the Poconos, and like an hour and 20 in, the DVD froze. So as I was trying to fix it, I fixed it, watched the rest of the movie. They said they liked it, and the best part, we were outside smoking cigarettes. My cousins are like, "Yo, when it froze at 120, I was like, I couldn't believe an hour and 20 went."
Yeah.
And once I heard that, I was like, okay, the pacing is ready. I'm good. Yeah. This is like as close as it's gonna be. That was a good feeling. So for my first go, I think I did a pretty decent job.
Yeah. But, I was just thinking about reality TV being produced. We should get Dale in here and ask him about that. I don't know if anybody's ever talked to him about, his experience with reality TV.
You did a bunch of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Dale Comstock?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dale's an interesting guy. We should definitely get him on at some point.
What did he do? What kind of shows?
Like military challenge type stuff. He did something with Terry Crews.
Yeah, that's where he. So they did. Yeah. They did one where it was sort of. I can't remember the name of it, but it was sort of like where they took. It was sort of like a Dancing with the Stars type of thing, but they did military events where it was almost like a boot camp, but it wasn't boot camp because they did like cool. Airborne stuff. They did a swimming thing, like they shooting. I think like they did different stuff, and each actor or celebrity would have a military soft guy with them. And so Dale was with Terry Crews, and apparently they became pretty close during that time.
That's pretty cool. That sounds like actually a pretty great idea.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd be curious to know what that experience was like for Dale, because I never really talked to him about it.
No, I don't think I have either. But yeah, Dale has like done everything in life. So
yeah, he did a movie too.
He did he did.
I don't know if it.
I think it was like a zombie movie.
It was a zombie movie, and I was waiting on it to get released, and then there was some delay in the release, and then I kind of lost track of it. But that was like, who are those guys who did the? There was another zombie movie that was all the guys. Who am I thinking of? Like, who's the Ranger, the big YouTube personality? Matt.
Yeah. You're talking about. I can't remember the name of it either, but they made some zombie, and it was like a bunch of like veterans that made this.
It was so self-indulgent and so and so much fun. Like it was just a total bro film.
I've never saw it.
What was it called? Is it Ranger Up? I don't know if that was a.
I think Ranger Up. Ranger Up, the documentary, because there was a documentary made about them making this movie. And like I said, it is just a total I love me film for like for special operations. Like it was so much fun to watch in some ways.
I just had friends of mine tell me like they felt embarrassed to be a veteran watching that film.
Oh, I didn't. I just thought it was a vanity project, and it was like if you went into it knowing that, like it was fun. Right. You know what I mean?
That's campy.
Like it was campy, and it was meant to be campy. It was not in any way taking itself seriously.
That's good. Yeah. If you get to that, if you can make that clear, that's important.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you could watch it and not like be like have it not be clear. I'm trying to see if I can find it.
I wrote an outline for a pilot for a show I wanted to write because I spoke to an agent, and the agent's like, listen, if you have a TV show, it's that way easier than a movie, or if you have a movie already made. If you have some kind of like script with 3 episodes written and like the outline till the end of the season, like basically hammered out, like you can get in there and pitch at least. So I wrote this thing about Rangers coming back from Iraq or where, I don't remember exactly where it was. They start drug dealing just to like make money. They're from New York, more of them. Like, there's one white kid, one black kid, one Spanish kid. They're all from different neighborhoods. And they met each other, obviously, in Iraq. And they meet up with one of their homies because at this point, like, weed was not legal. And in Rhode Island, they had just made it medically okay, like where you can grow. So one of their other homies was from Rhode Island growing this shit. They'd buy it from there, and they got tangled up with, like, bigger drug dealers and stuff like that. And the main character had like an opiate addiction and shit.
It's not like a science fiction story. I mean,
yeah. No, I'm trying to keep it as
it's pretty. Something like that could happen.
Yeah, I wrote the outline. I never wrote the whole thing because.
So it was Matt Best is who I was thinking of, and it was Range 15.
That's right. That's right.
And they got Danny Trejo, William Shatner in it, and then the documentary on it was Not a War Story.
Now it was like a zombie movie.
Yeah, it's a zombie movie, cool. And like I said, it's just good campy fun, you know. But if you've been soft, then like there's a lot of like stuff in it that you get that. Mm-hmm. I think that if you're not soft, you can still enjoy it. Like if you like camp, you know. But if you are soft, then you're like they're just overplaying everything.
Right.
They're just overplaying everything, almost making fun of themselves in some way. So that was fun. Ron Jeremy's in it.
Well, guys, I don't know, anything else you guys want to bring up for this episode before we roll?
I'm excited for the interviews with you guys. I'm going to edit those up too, so it's not going to be like a live show. We can premiere it, I guess.
We need to hammer out some times together.
Did anybody post anything on Patreon? Any questions on Patreon that's been watching?
No, I will check again here just to make sure, but I don't think so. Somebody just mentioned, Range 15 was what you were talking about. No questions. You know what? To wrap this up, I'll just go over the guests for this summer, as I do once in a while. And we have a pretty good lineup, I think. If I pat myself on the back here, and Dave also for scheduling some of this crew. So this Friday we have Mark Polymeropoulos coming back on for round 2.
Greek Mafia.
Yeah, this month has been like having people back to kind of wrap up some of the conversations that we started with them. Some of these guys have just had extensive enough careers that it's worth our while, and I hope your while also. So Mike Edwards came back in June. Caleb came back on the last episode. Mark will be this Friday. And then June 18th, Danny Colson will come back. We got to talk analyst, worked with the FBI. July 16th, Marty. Marty was a widow. Her husband was a CIA paramilitary who died in Laos back in the day, and she joined the CIA afterwards and handled a strategic asset in Moscow. So she was in Moscow servicing dead drops. And she has a crazy story too. She got arrested by like KGB. So we'll be talking to her. July 23rd, Paul Howe, Delta Force operator, served in Mogadishu in Panama. July 30th, Jade Parker, who is an analyst, another interagency analyst. She's super fascinating. We'll have her on. And then we get into August 6th, Christina and Ryan Hillsberg, CIA couple, husband and wife team, and they did some ops together too.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, so we'll be talking to them about that. August 13th, I'm still looking to schedule somebody. I have someone I'm talking to. I'm working it. Bear with me there. August 20th, Wes Bryant, who's a JTAC, who's really involved in the strike cells that were stood up, bombing the shit out of ISIS over in Iraq. August 27th, Jamie Caldwell, who was a Delta Force Sergeant Major, tons of experience in Iraq and Afghanistan. Dude's been around the block. Really nice guy, really good guy. So we'll have him on. September 3rd, Jan Newman, FSB defector. The 10th, I'm still working on that. I have someone in mind. September 17th, Bob Adolph will be on for a second time. He'll be in studio. He's coming through New York City. So then there's a couple, like I said, there's a couple people here I'm working on.
And we're reaching out to people. Like you see, we're 3+ months scheduled out, and we do appreciate the people you guys have been recommending. And we don't ignore requests. It's not always super quick to get people on.
They just go onto they go onto the list.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I have some folks I'm working on. I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. Yeah, man, that's it. And like I said, if you guys have any suggestions for these bonus episodes, like what you would like to see, you guys are the supporters. We're kind of doing these ones for you. So I want to take this episode to kind of talk to D and introduce you guys to him. But yeah, if you have any ideas, anything you'd like us to focus on in the future, let us know. And otherwise, we'll see all you Friday.
Thanks, everybody.
Ciao.
Yeah. Screen.
That